Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to another video. This is Piesta's book reviews video. It's the 11th part of this, the Complete Fiction of H.P. Lovecraft. Took me a couple of years to read through the whole thing, as most of his anthology compiled here. Few short stories are missing as far as I know. But there is a chapter in the end saying additional reading that you can check out of things that either inspired Lovecraft or that was published after his death. They are not included here. But this is a very good anthology for Lovecraft overall. I didn't know Lovecraft's piece of work. That's why I got this book. In terms of usability, the book is not the optimum thing that you want to have. Like, I just read it once and there are some parts already starting to discolor on the cover and things like that. So it's not the most robust book. It looks good on the bookshelf, but it's not very good for reading throughout. But if you just want to have it around for consultation, then I guess it's worthwhile. Anyways, this is the part 11th, as I mentioned, and I already went through most of the works here, the short stories and novellas that he wrote throughout the years. I'm missing a couple from the ending, so I'm gonna go through those real quick and then give a general overview, what I thought of the book overall. So the ones that were missing, the Shadow over Innsmouth, it's pretty good. The city is referenced many times throughout the different lore of Lovecraft thing. It's not directly related to the Necronomicon, but there's a whole thing around Arkham area, and Innsmouth is one of the cities that is highly referenced throughout the books, throughout the different stories. This one is the story that goes deeper into the lore of Innsmouth. I don't know if it's supposed to say Innsmouth or Innsmouth. Anyways, Strange Town has the usual tropes of not very welcoming sort of people there. They have some animalistic sort of vibes, grunts and elders that don't really speak very well normal English. You sort of understand that there's something. It's building up a storyline to become those little touches of it might just be people that have become a bit strange. It all becomes part of this image of supernatural things that are happening in the city, and our main character goes through the whole city itself. It details several different characteristics, and the hidden beings that are there relate to other stories that are already also part of Lovecraft. The festival and a few others, creatures from the sea, pretty much, that are somehow connected with the whole visiting gods around the Necronomicon lore and the Cthulhu lore. But yeah, they have some powers of some sort, and it's a bit explained on this book, the whole lore behind Innsmouth. So I highly recommend this, and it's a fairly long read. I think it's called I think it was a serialized novella is the official title for it. So there's multiple chapters, and it goes for quite a long bit. It's one of the longest stories that he has written, as far as I can remember. The next one on the book is the Dreams in the Witch House, and the Dreams in the Witch House was particularly interesting to read because I had seen recently the series by Guillermo del Toro, where he does an adaptation of the story. It's not the same. It's based on some of the ideas and some elements from the Dream in the Witch House, but he adapts into something different. So if you haven't seen the series, it's worth seeing, even if you already know the story. And the story is still worth reading even after seeing the series adaptation. So yeah, I think it was well done overall. I think I like this version a bit better because it connects with the whole lore of the Necronomicon, makes it even tighter. Necronomicon, Arkham, the Miskatonic University, those elements that Lovecraft has been adding to in every single story that he's written, this world that he imagined. And it's very solidly placed in the middle of that, even if it drifts a little bit into some rituals and dream related, but dream related occurrences are also prevalent on other parts of the lore. So it's not like a new thing, but it's more ritualistic inducing, although there's also some ritual elements on other stories. But yeah, it has a witch and some weird characters, which also appear on the series adaptation. I think it's pretty well done, pretty well written, a bit lengthy, but worth the read as well. Then we had Through the Gates of the Silver Key, which was really cool because it loops back to a character that was already featured on other stories, Randolph Carter, and this tells the story of what happened to Randolph Carter. Randolph Carter was, on the previous stories, had somehow disappeared into the dream world. There's this huge story about Randolph Carter just going around on this dream state of things. With a completely surrealistic description and the whole world building around it that was completely dream related. And in that story, they managed to loop it back on how dreams are also part of the reality and how they can be connected somehow through the Necronomicon lore. And this story really explains that a lot better, and not just the dream world, but also traveling across the cosmos, time traveling, space time traveling. And considering this was written like before the whole Star Trek craze happened, before the whole space race thing became a thing, it's quite inventive. It has a good imagination of things that are possible beyond our solar system and how things interconnect and operate. So really solid science fiction in that regard. And yeah, good story. Highly recommended. Through the Gates of the Silver Key. And it has a typical reveal as well that Lovecraft is also very famous for. Like, he builds up the characters and the story is climaxing into this big reveal that you can sort of guess throughout the thing. So it's a bit of a thriller as well in that regard. The Thing on the Doorstep, the next story on the book, also significantly large. The story of a relationship of a man that fell in love with a woman, and the woman was like practitioner of some dark arts. It's one of the rare occasions where there's a woman featured on Lovecraft stories. He doesn't have any female lead protagonists, and this was the first female protagonist, and it was actually an antagonist. And plot twist and spoiler alert, the woman was actually possessed by a man. And it's actually an older man that had to took over the body of the woman, and I was trying to take over another body, and the whole plot is about that and explaining that and going through that and the terror and horror of that thing being revealed to the couple and the friend of the couple. So yeah, it was a good story. I liked it. And it dwells on the transfer identity thing, and it connects back to the whole Miskatonic University and the Necronomicon and all those things. It also connects back to Innsmouth as well. The Evil Clergyman was a short story, only a couple of pages long. It's about identity transfer after the person is dead, how they can do some sort of incantation that might be able to transfer. If you're not careful, you might lose your own identity. A very short story. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I guess it was well written. Then we had the book. Which covers a bit some of the things already previously mentioned. Uh, it's very short story, also a couple of pages only. It's pretty much related to like the Necronomicon and alike, and how reading that can open, can reveal some things, some black arts thing or black magic thing, where you can lose your own sense of identity by allowing other creatures to take over your body, or you yourself being lost somewhere else. And this is a recurring thing in other different stories. And this short story is just focused specifically on that. Doesn't really connect very well to the rest of the lore. I didn't particularly like it, but I guess it was like an essay to the concept of putting that into a storyline. The next story on the book, The Shadow Out of Time, explores that and does it a lot better. It's the story of a man who seemed to have changed personalities for a few years, and then he starts remembering things from, he initially didn't remember anything at all from those 3 years, just what people reported him. And then he starts having dreams recalling some of those things, or what he assumes were recollection of those things. And spoiler alert, it turns out that he feels like he had transferred to, or was transferred upon from another being and swapped positions with him. And this being had a capability of going throughout time and space, and it's just been inhabiting Earth. And for different eons, it's been swapping around different minds and collecting their testimonies and information about them and storing them and having like an archive of the whole human history. And it reveals some lore things of things that happened on Earth before, supposedly according to Lovecraft, or things that will happen in the future. Lays some seeds around, and then there's a plot twist in the end as well, where he ends up traveling to Australia to find some try to find some hidden ruins, and there's a whole small adventure there as well, which also I think rounded up well the storyline. So yeah, I highly recommend the story as well. Connects well with the rest of the Necronomicon lore and gives more information about how the different beings that came into Earth related with each other, the different focus of civilizations that existed from these alien creatures, and how things evolve. So it's a very good summary roundup of that, additional information about that. And then the last story on the book was The Haunter of the Dark. Has this, it felt a lot of similarities with the story of Eric Zahn. On the setting, being on a loft, overviewing something, but feeling like a bit lost on how to get there, and some surreal paranormal events happening. And it turns out he's exploring a church, an abandoned church that the locals have known for a very long time that you should not visit, but he insists in exploring it, and he comes across some items that again loop back and connect with the Necronomicon and all that lore that Lovecraft has been building up. And yeah, it doesn't end well for him, but yeah, the story is interesting, worth reading. So yeah, do recommend that one. So yeah, these were the last 7-8 stories that I finally finished reading. It's a massive thing. Was it worth reading? Definitely worth reading. I feel a lot more confident about knowing firsthand H.P. Lovecraft's lore, and not just, reading bits and pieces from here and there and hearing about references to, Necronomicon, Cthulhu, those things. Now I know what the names actually mean, signify, the connection between the different things. So I'm more prepared for discussions about Lovecraftian stuff. It's not just tentacles coming out from the sea. There's a lot more cosmic dimension to the whole thing, and existential dimension to it as well. So definitely liked it. Wish there were more Lovecraft stuff, and I know there's a lot of things that are Lovecraft inspired. Some of them just because they have, you know, terrors, weird decisions that you have to make, weird creatures sort of thing. But I would like to see something that would really explore this world. So in that regard, I feel a bit sad that Lovecraft only written for 20 something years that he did. I wish he had had a little more time to keep developing this and adding to it and have another layer of stories unraveling that lore. But yeah, definitely I can understand why he's considered one of the classics in terms of horror, terror, cosmic terror. And yeah, highly recommend you checking it out. Maybe not the whole anthology of things, but definitely the different stories around the Cthulhu Necronomicon lore. They're definitely worth checking out. Some of the other ones are alright as well, but I think the ones directly connecting with the Necronomicon are a lot more interesting. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the series of videos. Hope you enjoyed this video review. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you already read all of Lovecraft's stuff, you would like to discuss some aspect of it, feel free to post and I'll eventually reply once I read it. Other than that, hope you enjoyed this and the books. See you next time. Bye bye everybody. Have a great day.